let's talk a little bit about the disastrous aftermath of this dark, dystopian, dilapidated, and quite frankly, poorly attended military parade on Saturday, which just by chance coincided with Donald Trump's 79th birthday. Donald Trump wanted something powerful. Donald Trump is enamored with the ways that North Korea and Iran and Russia, that authoritarians exercise power and project that power. So Trump wanted a military parade to mark the Army's 250th anniversary, probably more importantly, his own 79th birthday as well. Discipline, uniforms, tanks, service members marching in uniform in lockstep, a big crowd, something to really strike fear into critics and to make him look like a king. What Trump got instead was a poorly attended school field trip. And according to biographer Michael Wolff, Trump furiously flipped out after watching his dictator fantasy fall apart on Constitution Avenue. The soldiers looked relaxed and human. Some were smiling, which I guess is great, but it wasn't what Trump actually wanted. The crowd was sparse. The environment was not really electric. It was muted. And the whole thing came off more like a poorly attended neighborhood block party where a lot of people said, I actually have a game I want to stay home and watch instead of going to this thing. And Trump was reportedly furious and placed the blame on his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, allegedly screaming about the tone, accusing the troops of looking too friendly. They were too non-threatening. The authoritarian orange guy wanted menace, and he didn't get it. Imagine being mad that the people being forced to march in your military birthday parade just didn't look angry and scary enough. And it doesn't stop there, because when the story got out, the White House didn't even deny it with a straight face. They said that Michael Wolff, who reported on this, has a, quote, severe and debilitating case of Trump derangement syndrome that has rotted his peanut-sized brain. That statement came from the White House communication director, not a guy on Reddit, not, some drunk muttering to himself outside a gas station or on the subway platform. That is the official communication from the President of the United States office. We used to have a thing called decorum, and I don't really care that much about decorum for its own sake, but there was a situation where when politicians lied, they lied in a certain way that was not a full-blown psychiatric projection coming from the West Wing, the way that we see it right now. And it starts to make people like Kim Jong-un look way saner than he is. We've all been subjected to and sort of been living in Donald Trump's psychological breakdown now for a lot of time. Back in 2016, you might remember that forensic psychiatrist Dr. Bandy Lee was warning anybody who would listen. She said Trump's behavior is dangerous. It's not just about politics. It's to the public's mental health. And Dr. Bandy Lee, we interviewed her. She explained how pathological narcissism on this scale can spread. It never stays contained. It will start to warp norms, which it has. It will poison the discourse, which it has. It will destabilize communities, which it has. And a lot of people didn't want to hear it. We started seeing the national psychiatric associations allegedly coming under pressure to keep quiet because the Trump administration didn't like what was being said. And consider now that if you were 10 or 12 years old in 2016, you're, 19 to 21 right now, you kind of grew up watching a man lie every day, spew cruelty on social media, dodge consequences, mistreat the people that work for him. And it was all presented as an image of masculinity and strength. That would be your model for leadership and manhood and power if you're around 21 or 22 years old right now. So this is much more than a Trump problem. This is a generational problem. Now we go back to the parade. Yeah, the parade was a disaster, without a doubt. But the bigger story is what the parade, Trump's reaction, and Trump flipping out on Pete Hegseth reveal, which is this is a deeply broken man surrounded by enablers, obsessed with looking powerful, while everything around him is crumbling. So the parade did not end up being a show of strength. It was this kind of lonely tantrum. I believe the soldiers knew it. And on some level, Trump knows it too, because he flipped out on Pete Hegseth for the obvious failure that it was. And Trump is not doing well. And what happened last night in the middle of the night is just a reminder. You know, every time we call out Donald Trump's authoritarianism, the right calls it media hysteria. But I want to remind you that Trump admits he's looking for ways to defy the Constitution and maybe even pursue another term. Now, if you don't know the bias behind your news, you might believe, oh, Trump's just teasing us. There's nothing here. Go to ground.news/Pacman and see how media bias influences more than your perception from Trump's policy and ability to understand and undermine constitutional norms. I've been with Ground News for years now because this is what they do. They expose the hidden agendas behind reporting sources and make it easy to compare coverage and understand critical issues. Even better, if I'm reading a story on another site, the Ground News browser extension will flag the source's political bias and give me other reports on the same story so I can verify the information. My viewers get 40% off the same unlimited Vantage plan that I use, so you get their top tier plan for just $5 a month. Go to ground.news/Pacman. The link is in the description, or scan the QR code.